Hello and welcome to Sochi for round 4 of the Xbox One F1 2016 ProFormula Racing Russian Grand Prix. I'm your commentator Hayden Gullis, and if you missed last week's Chinese Grand Prix, then check out the card in the top right corner of your screens to catch up on everything this season. We are here at the Black Sea Resort of Sochi for this weekend of racing, and we'll be hoping for less controversy this weekend after Herminator96 was punished for his incident with B-Green10 down to internet related issues. The penalty drops him from finishing 2nd to finishing 5th in the race, allowing B-Green10, Brobot1994 and Contester to move up 1 position. And this is how it affects the driver's standings. Herminator96 loses 8 points after dropping from 2nd down to 5th place in the Chinese Grand Prix. B-Green10 also gains 2 points after moving up from 5th to 4th. So 12 points is now the gap between the two front runners after Herminator96 lost 10 points over his championship rival. A2G's D2 also closes up the gap to Herminator96. The gap between those two is only 20 points. Other movers in the standings are Contester. He moves up into 5th position after gaining 3 points thanks to that penalty decision, going above Curtis, who is on 24 points. Brobot1994 also gains 3 points thanks to that decision, and he moves up into 7th on 23 points. 25 points to 22 points. Only 3 points separate Contester and Fletcher 455. So the championship is very close between those 4 drivers. But that is all the changes in the drivers' standings. Let's have a look at the changes in the constructors' standings. And there's no real changes in terms of teams moving above each other, but Renault moved closer to Toro Rosso. 1 point separates those two teams, both on 23 and 24. So it's very close between Scuderia Toro Rosso and Renault in the Constructors' Championship. Manor lose out on 8 points, and Ferrari gain quite a considerable amount of points. I think it was only 5 actually, to be fair. So they've gained a few points there on Manor. 28 points is the gap, and there's still a long way left to go in this season. So Ferrari can definitely close up the gap to a Manor as the season goes on. But that is how the championships look after that penalty to Herminator96 for those internet-related issues. So without any further ado, let's head over to the practice report. Practice at the Russian Grand Prix got underway in changeable conditions, starting with bright blue skies before the rain came down. One of the drivers who may have been caught out by the slippery conditions was Fletcher 455, who lost the car through the long turn 3 before putting it into the barrier and ending his session early. The misery for Red Bull did not end there, as Tom Satnav on the wrong tyre at the wrong time lost the rear of the car through turn 9 and slammed into the wall, damaging the car and his session. So Schilling led the way in practice by a staggering 1.5 seconds over B-Greeny10. A2G's D2 and Herminator96 finished the session 3rd and 4th, but both drivers were running on the slower medium tyre. Pigeon Chicken was the surprise driver of the bunch, almost matching the two Manor drivers on the same tyre. So could he be a pole position contender after bouncing back from his poor Chinese Grand Prix? Another driver looking to bounce back is Tom Satnav after failing to set a lap time here today. So that's practice over and done with. Let's head into qualifying for the Russian Grand Prix. Hello and welcome to the former Winter Olympic Park here at the Sochi Autodrome for today's qualifying session at the Russian Grand Prix. And we're on board with the Red Bull driver of Tom Satnav, leaving the pit lane and going to start his outlap. Very, very tricky conditions out here today as Tom Satnav loses the back end, exiting the pits, going into the barrier and already damaging the front right end plate of his front wing. He should be able to continue on this lap and he should be able to set a lap time, but he's still really struggling just to get the car under control. He's weaving all over the place and then heads straight back into the barrier, once again damaging the other half of his front wing, and it looks like it's more misery for Red Bull. They had a terrible practice session and it looks like they're having a terrible qualifying session here today. Fletcher 455 is gone spinning through turn 3. Tom Satnav all over the place through turn 3 as well. Into turn 4, looking like he's got the car under control a lot more now, but still really struggling in these changeable conditions. And he's got a rear left puncher. Has Tom Satnav really struggling with these intermediate conditions, can just not get the car under control at all at this stage of qualifying, driving really slowly. He should let his teammate of Fletcher 455 through the next couple of corners, just avoiding action of his teammate. Fletcher 455 also being a little bit hesitant, overtaking his teammate there to go set a lap. So far, doesn't look like Fletcher 455 has any damage on his car at this time of the session. Thomas Satnav somehow manages to lose the back end through turn 9 once again. putting his car into the barrier. Not too sure how Tom Satnav is doing this. He's got a punctured tyre. He's not going any faster than 50, 60 miles an hour, but somehow is still able to put the car into a spin and put it into a barrier. Very, very disappointing here from the Red Bull driver, who's really, really struggling with these intermediate conditions, even with a punctured tyre. Another driver coming down this long back straight at the moment. Who's that? Commentated 96 in the manner, who moves over just to say hello to Tom Satnav, but no collision between the two drivers. Another driver is coming down the straight, so Tom Satnav does need to be aware of this because he will not be ghosting through this corner. He does not want to cause a collision, but there is yellow flags out, so the driver behind will be warned that there is a slow moving car as he goes through turn 15 now, and once again somehow losing the back end. How on earth is he doing this with a rear left puncher? With a puncher, you shouldn't be going that fast to be able to put the car into a spin. And Tom Satnav's qualifying session is just going from bad to worse. He's just struggling to get back into the pit lane to try and get his car fixed and get out for another lap. So real struggle here for Tom Satnav, but hopefully for him, he can get out and set a lap time somewhere in today's session. We're on board now with Commentated 96 for his first lap here in qualifying as he comes down to the very tricky turn 14. Schilling goes and sets the fastest lap of the session so far with a 1:52 lap time, so a very good lap time from the new McLaren driver, and Commentated 96 will be looking to beat that on his first lap. But these are changeable conditions at the moment, and I do believe that the rain is easing off, so the track is going to be getting drier and drier, quicker and quicker as the session goes on. So the best times will be set right at the end of the session, but it is best to be out there on the right tyre at the right time just to try and set the best lap time that you possibly can. But Commentated 96 through the final corner now. Can he beat Schilling's time? I don't think so. No, he's definitely not. It's 2 seconds slower than Schilling's best lap time. Well, 1.7 seconds slower, but 1:54.2 is not good enough there from the man of drivers. B Green 10 goes and sets the fastest lap time of the session so far. He's got provisional pole position, but like I said, the track is getting faster and faster, so it's all about being the last guy to cross the line as Tom Satnav gets underway once again. He's coming out of the pit lane. This time, however, can he get his car under control? Through turn 2 at the moment. And so far, so good from the Red Bull driver. Losing a little bit through turn 3. Losing a lot through turn 3 there. Struggling to get the car turned. Maybe a bit too far on the throttle, but he's not really putting his foot on the throttle at all. But when he does, he just goes all the way down. And there he goes into the barrier once again and damaging that rear left tyre. He's got another punch. He's punctured 2 sets of intermediate tyres in this qualifying session. So he better hope that it does not rain in the race. Otherwise, he is going to be stuffed for tyres. But here we are on board with Commentated 96 on his second lap, 1 second quicker, but not good enough to improve or beat Schilling or B Green 10 in the standings. So he still holds third position, but that is still a great position for the Manor drivers. B Green 10 goes even quicker in his Ferrari to solidify that provisional pole position. But we're on board with Tom Satnav, who now decides that it's good enough for super soft tyres. And looking at the track conditions, I agree with him. It definitely looks like it is time for the super soft tyres. And this is the Tom Satnav we like to see, hitting the apexes perfectly, maybe missing a little bit through that left-hander, maybe jinxed him just a little bit, but through this next corner, still on board with Tom Satnav, locking up quite a bit, cutting the corner there through this right-hander. Tom Satnav, okay, I said he was doing really well, but now, unfortunately, he's sort of been commentated. He's got the curse of the commentator through those last couple of corners, but through the penultimate one, very nice and tidy through there. Final corner now for the Red Bull driver. That was not too bad. Coming across the line, and it is provisional pole position for the Red Bull driver, 1:43.2, but there are faster drivers out on track with B Green 10, Schilling, and Commentated 96 yet to set a lap time on the super soft tyres. But Tom Satnav will be improving as the session goes on because the track, well, like I said, is going to be getting drier. And we are on board with the Red Bull driver right now. 8 tenths quicker. Oh no, he's gone into the barrier this time. Not just puncturing his tyre, losing it completely. And that is Tom Satnav out of today's qualifying session. Very disappointing for the Red Bull driver to end his session early, but he set a very good lap time, and that could still mean a good starting grid position for the Red Bull driver. On board with Pigeon Chicken at the moment as he goes through the final couple of corners of his lap. Currently his 5th lap here in qualifying through this right-hander. Final corner, 1 corner left to go on this qualifying lap. What is the time gonna be good enough for pole? It's provisional pole position there for Pigeon Chicken. That is a huge surprise after the terrible race he had at the Chinese Grand Prix. Looks like he's finally managed to improve things here at the Russian Grand Prix, and provisional pole position is a great result for him. But somebody has just crossed the line, gone up into provisional pole, and unfortunately moving Pigeon Chicken down to second. But still, second place is still a fantastic result for the Mercedes driver, coming across the line for his second lap, for his another lap here in qualifying on these super soft tyres. He improves a little bit, but still stays in second place. We're on board with Commentated 96, yet to start a flying lap here. Has he got enough time to get across the line? On the final corner, across the line. Is it good enough? I don't think so. I think that is his session over for Commentated 96, and yes, it is. He has done it again. He did that, I believe, at the Bahrain Grand Prix, and he's gone and done it again, where he's just missed the cutoff point for qualifying by a fraction of a second. Very disappointing there for the Manor driver. But we're on board with his teammate at the moment, who looks like he's going for more of a cool-down lap. I don't think that this lap is going to be... No, he's not going to be setting times alive. B-Green10 goes into pole position with a 1:38.076. A great lap time there for the Ferrari driver. A2 Cheese D2 currently in second place. So he must be the guy who replaced Pigeon Chicken when he set provisional pole position. As we're on board with Contesta, coming around the last couple of corners now on this set of super soft tyres. The only driver I think that is actually on a lap time at the moment, but is going to be an improvement on that 8th position. It should be, because he set that lap time on the intermediate tyres. I don't think it is. Maybe the track extension right at the end cost him there and may have been penalised, as that lap time was not an improvement, which is a surprise, seeing as he was on the super soft tyres. But we're on board with Pigeon Chicken right now, who is the final driver to set a lap time at this Russian Grand Prix. Through the final couple of corners now for the Mercedes driver. Can he improve on this lap time and move up into maybe second or pole position? He's only got himself to beat right now out on track. Through the final couple of corners for the Mercedes driver. One more corner left to go. Is it going to be good enough for pole position? No, it's not. He stays in third position, but it is an improvement for Pigeon Chicken. A good lap there for the Mercedes driver. This is how things ended up after that crazy Russian Grand Prix qualifying session. B-Green10 lines up in pole position with a lap time of a 1:38.076, being enough to get his Ferrari right at the front of the grid. Alongside him in second place is the Manor driver of A2 Cheese D2. Both those guys battling Herminator 96 for the championship and getting a fantastic position to gain loads of points on him in the championship. Pigeon Chicken lines up in third position after a fantastic qualifying session, after a disappointing race at the Chinese Grand Prix, bouncing back and getting that third place, which is really a solid performance there for the Mercedes driver. Tom Satnav lines up in fourth place on the super soft tyres, his lap time being enough to get fourth place, just ahead of his teammate Fletcher 455, who will line up in fifth. Alongside Fletcher 455 is the young German driver of Schilling, who lines up in sixth, failing to set a lap time on those super soft tyres, and the intermediate tyres were good enough. 14 seconds off the pace. So that was the difference between being on the super soft tyres and the intermediate tyres. 14 seconds was the gap, and unfortunately 6th, 7th and 8th all failed to set a lap time on those super soft tyres, and that includes championship leader Herminator 96, who once again just managed to miss the cutoff point for the qualifying session. Very, very disappointing there for the championship leading contester. Lines up at the back of the grid after once again failing to set a valid lap time on those super soft tyres. So that is your starting grid for tomorrow's Russian Grand Prix. Thank you very much for joining me for today's practice and qualifying sessions, and I hope to see you tomorrow for the race at the Russian Grand Prix. But until then, it's goodbye from me.